Welcome to Optimize My Life, the ultimate radio show where we unlock the secrets to living our best lives. Now, before we dive into this exciting journey of self-improvement and empowerment, I want to take a moment to thank our incredible sponsor, the Hope Collection, for making this show possible. Their unwavering commitment to spreading hope and positivity in our lives is truly remarkable. We believe in the power of interaction, so we want you to be a part of this incredible journey. Call in, write to us, or connect on social media. We'd love to hear your questions, experiences, and challenges. Together, we'll create a thriving community of like-minded individuals, supporting each other to thrive and shine.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is Hometown Heroes. I'm your host, Mary Stanley, and it's all about uplifting, highlighting individuals and organizations and talking about what they're doing, but also how what they're doing helps make the world a better place. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. Every job is important in one shape or form. So, Dani, welcome today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
I would love to talk about, one, what you do, but two, how you got started.
Well, I'm a virtual assistant, so very plainly it means that virtually I'm helping other business owners. And for a lot of virtual assistants, they do pick a very niched either task or type of client to work with, and they focus on that. But for me, I do like a variety. I get bored easily if I had to do the same thing over and over. So I thoroughly enjoy getting to work with people in all different types of industries and also doing a wide variety of tasks. So for me, I kind of like juggling lots of pieces about their business, and I just love getting to know what their goals are and really get invested and really be a part of their team.
You know, I was in a parenting group on a Lineable the other day, and one of the things we talked about was juggling everything and still making time for everything else. And what I love about what you do is, one, you do a lot of it yourself, and you have a team with you. A lot of these virtual assistant organizations I have an issue with because they hire people from like the Philippines and third world countries and pay them pennies on the dollar.
Absolutely. I've seen a lot of content online of someone, wanting to hire a virtual assistant. And then, when they finally talk about what their budget is, they want to pay $5 an hour or something because they have been used to hiring people from the Philippines. And for me, I don't even want to go down the agency route myself just because I feel like virtual assistants should simply be getting paid for the tasks that they're doing, and the funds should be going directly to them as a business owner. And I know that for a lot of new virtual assistants, it does make sense to join on and go with an agency and things like that, or sign up for Fiverr or all of these other platforms that allow them to kind of get, their foot in the door. But it is sad to see that so many people are getting paid, like you said, nickels and dimes to basically help run business owners run the back end of their business. It's definitely, it can be hard out there. You have to find the right people.
And, it's one, finding the right people, but, it's about using your voice. And
Absolutely.
That's what really got me with you, is that you walk a fine line like I do, where, you tell it how it is, but you also are very hand-holdy when it needs to be.
I definitely, I really advocate for myself because I know at the end of the day what my skill set is worth to people. And so, it's great that there are business owners out there that maybe are on a tight budget, or maybe they just want to keep more money in their pocket and they only want to hire people at $5 an hour. But I have learned now to get that conversation out of the way pretty much at the beginning. And if you're not my people, then you're not my people. And I will go and, just simply find the clients who understand that what I have learned over many, many years doing this is that I am valuable to their business because I bring so much to the table, and that it's worth it for them to almost, like I said, bring someone on who's going to be invested in their business and be a part of the team. And so far, most of my clients, I've worked with them for over 2 years, and they're just very happy with that. So it's definitely paid off for me.
Well, and that's the one thing, for people who are getting into this business, because, you see so many marketers out there, so many virtual assistants.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so hard to get your name out over the noise. And people got to understand that when you hire someone, it's like, I think back to like the 50s, and you have this secretary that is the face
mm-hmm.
of your business, basically, or the face of you. And when you're hiring a virtual assistant, it's the same thing. They're the ones that are doing everything behind the scenes to help you. And if they don't know what you're doing and have that heart into what you're doing, you're never going to get anywhere.
Absolutely. And it can be very simple things, or it can be very complex. Where I said my tasks definitely vary every day, what I'm working on with different clients. I mean, I've done very complex things behind the scenes, whether it's, tech or running events, project management, but I've done really basic things too, like booking COVID tests so that my clients could actually fly to another country and attend the conferences that they've invested a lot of money in. Very basic things that still is hugely important at the end of the day for things to move forward. It's just, that's what people are paying me for, is that reliability. And so I feel like when people are relying on a lot of these services like Fiverr, there are a lot of great virtual assistants on those platforms, don't get me wrong. But there are a lot of people on there too who just are looking to make a quick buck, but most of the tasks they're doing they're running them through, AI programs, and they're doing things, that takes them 2 seconds because they're relying on a program to provide it, and then they're turning it over as if they've done it. And I've seen that, unfortunately, more than I would like to. But then I get hired to come in and do it properly. And so it's, it works both ways, I guess.
And it does. And that's part of the reason I'm looking for a VA for my business, but I need somebody, and this is why I haven't hired one yet, because I haven't found one that's willing to put their heart and soul into my baby.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I have to create welcome packets for every client that I bring in, but because I work in the world of neurodiversity and autism primarily, I cannot use a general template because I custom make each welcome packet with their plans of how we're going to help them for every client. I don't do templates. It's also the reason why I don't have a lot of online classes and things like that. And getting someone to see, yes, you can use AI to help you reword some things, especially if you don't understand the language in this world that I work in, but you can't use a template.
And the biggest thing there that I find is a lot of newer virtual assistants I find, and maybe just some people who are just not super familiar with taking it a step further. And, for me, I like to sit down with my clients and I like to ask all the questions. I really want to understand it as if it was my baby too, right? So I do usually have a lot of questions, and I want to understand parts of it that may not seem relevant, but it helps me at the end of the day do just that. I could sit down and I could create something that's applicable to their client, and it really comes from that perspective, like it's coming from the business owner. And it's really helpful. I think that a lot of VAs are just not comfortable taking control in that way, and just looking at it like, for them, it's also an investment. And it's an investment, and you have to gain that knowledge about the business. You have to take it sometimes one step further, really get to know your clients, that sort of thing. And I find that that's really helpful for me. I am someone who I'm constantly wanting to learn, but I also don't like feeling that there's pieces missing. If I only simply take the information sometimes my clients give me, we all fall into complacency. And, we give information, we assume that they kind of know other pieces of it. We feel like other people should be in our head, but they're not. And so, for me, I like to circle back and, okay, these are my questions. This is what I need to know more of to feel like I can do this adequately for you in a way that, it seems like it's coming from you, but you don't have to have as much time into it, as much hands-on. And I think that really has helped me. Like I said, I've got clients, I've been working with a bunch of people for more than 2 years. And I think that that's what they've always appreciated, is that I do think outside the box. I think ahead. I'm proactive about things. I'll go back and say, okay, I feel like this is what I'm going to need to know down the road. So fill me in now. And then that's going to help me be able to, assist better with these specific tasks now, but also what I know is coming up.
When you're talking about using AI and stuff like that, people have created these programs for AI so that you have an AI virtual assistant. You have a Siri or a Google or whatever it's called today. Granted, that works for a cookie cutter business, but this is where I truly believe people like you are going to shine through this, because businesses that are unique, it won't work. And people who, I think this is really going to show us in the world about people who really care about what they're doing, as opposed to the ones that are doing it just for the money.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like a lot of people nowadays, when, everything came out about AI, and even at the beginning of my business, people were asking me, are you concerned? And I said, no, because at the end of the day, there's going to be so many people who don't want to rely on that they, they don't trust it and won't go down that road. But there's still so many people who are going to want it to be authentic. They're going to want to have that human communication and that teamwork, which you simply cannot get from a program. And I mean, I love technology. I have always been a nerd and a geek. And so for me, like, it was either I could feel kind of tense about it, or I could embrace it and find ways for it to help me. And for me, because I do have, for my own business and behind the scenes and my own marketing and things like that, sometimes because I know every piece of my business and I know who I work with, it can get very noisy in my head. And so for me, I like to actually use something like ChatGPT to kind of brainstorm with me about things. But I don't use it in the way that, people think virtual assistants, like, it's not going to replace virtual assistants. There may be some people out there who are using it to do what they've hired virtual assistants to do. But in my mind, that tells me that they didn't find the right virtual assistant for them to really do the things that their business really needed. So maybe they found a tool that's replacing that task, but they're probably not seeing the growth or, the improvement and the lack of hands-on stuff that is the whole point of really hiring a virtual assistant, and that they should have. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Technology is always going to improve, and it's going to get more realistic and things like that. But, a lot of the people I've talked to, a lot of my clients, I have had clients come to me and they said, I hope that, you don't rely on any AI to do this. I'm like, no, definitely not. So, a lot of people are still not comfortable with that. They don't want to bring that on as a part of their business.
Well, and what people don't realize is AI doesn't keep up on the latest trends, the latest things.
Exactly. And I've tested it before. I've given it my own content, a bunch of stuff, because recently I'm actually working on a landing page for myself, and I was curious what it would do. And so I gave it the information, and, it gave me a basic layout of what I already knew was a really good structure for, a landing page. So I knew it, obviously it's pulling that from online anyways, but I asked it some very specific questions to give me content, say, for promotion, and it was giving me information that I didn't provide. And so I go back to it and I ask, okay, where did you get that? And it basically told me it made it up. And I was like, well, I could have made it up in the way that it's not relevant to what I provided you. But if I'm giving, this is my information and this is what I need, pulling from that, that's what I want you to use. And it didn't do that. So I found it scary, but also amusing to me that it couldn't do the very specific thing I was asking it to do. It just basically kind of told me what I wanted to hear. instead of actually using the content I gave it and pulling from it. So it was very interesting. And if it wasn't for me, it being my own business, that's the thing about virtual assistants is, you know, for me, like I said, I love to get invested in what my clients are doing. And I like to know as much about it as possible so that I can really sit in their perspective and work from that. But a lot of virtual assistants, say if you're only working with a client, say 5 hours a month, you might not be that invested. And so if they're relying on AI tools and they were to do that exact test that I just did, but do it as a task that, you know, they're asked to do, picked up on the fact that it was giving something that was completely inaccurate to the information provided. And so that can get very tricky, right? So a lot of business owners rely on me to make sure that the information that I'm creating, the copy that I'm writing, the tasks that I'm completing are done by me for one, but also done with their, you know, with their business in mind, with their goals in mind. And so AI is great, but it has its place and it has its right time to use it. But I would like to see more virtual assistants kind of not use it for task work for sure.
Right. And I use it, like I'll put in, like when I create posts, I'll put in, you know, this is what my post is for, and it'll help me rewrite it because I struggle with writing.
Yes, absolutely. And it's great for that. It's great for rewording it. If you know what it needs to say, but you don't quite like the sound of the sentence, it's perfect for that kind of stuff because it can help make it sound with a rhythm that maybe you like, you know, sometimes if you're tired, like sometimes I work late, I'm a single mom. So for me, I'm working all over the place. And if I'm trying to write copy for myself and I just don't like where it's coming from, absolutely, I'll use it to rewrite my own stuff. And, you know, because I know that that's still my voice. And I'm like, okay, I like that. I like that. One word that it used that made it, yes, that's what I was looking for, you know, and I think it's great for that.
Challenging is it for you to get your face, your name out over the millions of virtual assistants out there?
I took it on as a, you know, when I started my business, I launched my business at the very beginning of 2022. I had been doing the work for some time, but I was making it official. This was now going to be my full-time thing. This is what I wanted to proceed with. And by March, I was maxed out. I couldn't take on any more clients because I wanted to look at it in a very practical way. I knew that people were going to be looking for virtual assistants, but I also knew it was going to take some networking from me as well. So I looked at it as, you know, a two-way street, right? So people were going to be trying to find me, but I also needed to go looking for people because you really just can't sit back and just wait for people to find you. There's, like you said, too many of us. And, you know, that's social media, everything can be a bit congested. So how are they going to find you before they find somebody else? But for me, I just made sure like my social media just made sense. I had all the keywords in there. I had everything that really explained what I enjoyed working on, kind of what I had done already, and kind of what I was about so that it made it more personal because I have worked in customer service many, many years, and customer service is what makes the world go round, right? So I really wanted it to feel like it had that personal touch. For me, even though when I started my business, I wasn't living where I am now, I'm back in Newfoundland, which is where I grew up. And for us, we're very much known to be like kind and helpful people. And I really wanted to drill that home with like my messaging and my branding. And I really found that worked. So me picking something that really kind of showcased who I was and what my business was going to stand for, I think really helped. And then with the content that I put out, I just focused on being genuine, and I talked about things that I knew were going to help people, even if they weren't sales related. It was mostly just like I'm educating people because, like I said, I'm a geek, I'm a nerd. So there were so many things that I've learned over the past 20 years. You know, I've been making websites since I was in high school, and that goes back a while. So there were just so many things that I knew were going to be helpful to people. And I just started talking to people, which is the biggest thing, because people can't hire you if they don't know what you do. And I still have friends who ask me, like, what do you do again? Which always reminds me, I'm not talking enough about what it is that I do. And that doesn't mean that you're selling to everyone. It just means that you talk about it, because people having it in their mind what you do, and if they understand it, when somebody else, you know, they meet someone in a lineup somewhere, they go, oh gosh, I really wish I had someone who could do this. Then you pop into their head. And that works both in the real life and, of course, online. And I feel like that's been super helpful for me, just simply talking about what it is that I do. And the fact that I'm passionate about it and I like talking about it, it's easy for me to talk about, has been helpful. So it's just a matter of, I guess, getting seen as much as possible and, yeah, just being kind of genuine about the things and sharing. I like to teach people all the things that I do. I know a lot of virtual assistants kind of don't do that because to them it kind of defeats the point of hiring them if they're showing someone how to do it. But for me, the biggest benefit of someone hiring me is that they don't have to do the task. Their time can be spent somewhere else, usually on an income-producing activity, because so much of what I do is kind of the stuff that does promote growth of their business, but it's not directly an income-producing activity in the run of a day. And so it makes sense. I'm here to save time, not necessarily to save, them of learning something new. A lot of my clients kind of do know how to do some of the stuff that I work on. They just don't want to or would rather do something else.
One thing I love about you, listening to you talk about your business, is I host a group on Alignable called Story Connect, and it's all about businesses. Because you go into these networking groups and you hear about people pitching their business. Mm-hmm. I personally, honestly, and I talk about this a lot, I get bored because they're literally reading from a script. And I'm trying to figure out how in the world do you not explain what you do in a way that you don't have to read it because you created it yourself. It's your baby. It's your business. And they lose that emotional touch to their business. And I love how when you talk about it, you talk about it with that emotion. It's yours. And you're proud of it. And it's something that's rare in this day and age. It's like everybody has this belief that you have to have this perfect sales pitch and you have to have this perfect persona. And, one thing we talk about here on this radio show is all about authenticity. Mm-hmm. And about being you, no matter who you are or what you do. Own what you do and enjoy what you do, because if you don't enjoy what you're doing, then there's no point in you doing it.
Yeah. And every time I get asked what I do, my answer kind of depends on what I've been doing that given week, because almost every week I'm doing something that I have never done before. I'm always looking to learn something new, and a lot of my clients are perfectly okay with the fact that, no, I haven't done it, but I can absolutely figure it out and, learn that for you. That's fine, which is exciting for me because, like I said, I love adding to my task list kind of thing. I like learning all the new things and new software, so it's exciting for me when there's something I've never done. But when people ask me what I do, my answer is not the script in my head, which I will admit I've been trained to do that. That's, in different things that I've done, that's kind of been, you need your elevator pitch. And I guess in a way, like I know what it could be, but it's always going to change depending on that week, depending on whether it was like a rough week getting some stuff done because technology was fighting against me. I use that then, right? I'm like, I take on the stress of like doing all this behind the scene project management or tech setup so that my clients don't really have to worry about it. And then other times it's simply like, I juggle all the balls that sometimes often drop behind closed doors of a business that you don't get to see, because business owners, they're usually solo professionals, and we all know that we take on oftentimes too much, and it can be a lot. So here to just ease that stress and take away the things. And I do coaching with my clients sometimes too, of helping them delegate, because that's not an easy thing. We're not trained. We haven't really been raised to comfortably ask for help. And so that's something that I really help people with too. And I've had clients who are like, I just feel like I need help, but I don't even know with what. And so I love that, I offer free calls with everyone the first time that I meet with them. It's a free call, and then we just kind of go over what's going on with their business. What does it feel like is kind of broken or not working? What are they super proud of? What are their goals coming up? Because all of my clients have goals of where they want to be, but they don't see those side things ever happening because they're just so swamped. And then I basically then give them a list of, these are all the things that you're talking about that I can take off your plate, and that frees up so much time. So I've got clients who want to build courses on the side, right? They have their business, whether it's service business, but they want they want to create courses and they want to have that so people can learn from them. And that's really hard if they're constantly tied day in and out to keeping their business running. So, of course, delegating, like you said, when you refer to your business as your baby, mine's the same. It is super hard, right? Just like if you have a child and you're getting childcare for the first time, it's definitely not easy. But having someone come on board who can, confirm that, I'm here to be invested with your goals as well and to see it succeed and just make sure that it's comfortable. Not everyone's a good mix together, but most people, they're great. And it can be easy after a while to kind of show them, this is how you can delegate this to me. And if you need baby steps, that's okay too. But it's just a matter of getting to that point. And then from there, it's easier. It's definitely easier. And then you've got the help and then you've got the time to do other things. And it's always really nice to see. I've had clients who are now putting courses, using that same example, in motion because now they've got the time. And so it's really cool.
Question for you. So you're a virtual assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Do you hire another virtual assistant to do helping you do what you do?
I don't. It's just me. And I could. I've had people approach me. That they want to work for free just to learn. I don't feel good about that, so I've never done it. For me, instead, what I plan on doing, because when I really wanted to start, I was looking around for a course where I could learn additional skills. And there really wasn't anything available, especially that was affordable. And so for me, my goal is actually to provide a support community with training, with skill set training for new virtual assistants. And that's going to be, maybe they will be people that I will recommend some onboarding clients to work with instead of myself. But I don't really see myself hiring someone else. I don't feel good about taking money that someone else is doing the work for. And that's kind of going back to what I said about agencies. I don't want to be charging a client $50 and then I'm only paying $25 to the person that's actually doing all the work. I kind of don't like that. And that's just not how I ever see my business kind of going, is down that route. But instead, I'd like to create a community that helps connect the people that are finding me with also really great virtual assistants that have learned from me specifically. And I know they have the skill set to do, said tasks and can help them, and then they can onboard with them. That's kind of what I see in my future. It's actually starting probably in the next few weeks to be doing the coursework and the training part. And so that's what I want to do is just create that support community, because from what I see online, it's very much lacking. People are out there, they're all on their own, and owning a business, as you know, and running it by yourself is really tough. And when you have to go looking for clients and all this, I really want to help people get to a point of, where I was. Like I said, I maxed out and I was full time within 2 months. I moved my son and I across the country last year. I mean, my business has been everything for me over the last few years. And so there are other people out there who need that.
Excuse me. I've got really bad allergies. I live in the middle of nowhere, Minnesota. And God. It is hay season.
Oh, I feel for you.
Actually, we need to talk off the air because I can help you with that. One of the sponsors of the show is called the Hope Collection, and it's a non-for-profit organization with the motto of helping others to help others to help others. And it's all about a pay-it-forward type deal. And one thing we're looking at creating is a directory, but offering businesses a chance to grow, but also teach others to do different things.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the areas that is a passion for me and a few others on this radio station is helping veterans figure out a new pathway into life and transitioning. And so that and the neurodiversity system, allowing and helping a lot of autistic individuals who don't like to work outside need that small business to create themselves, but helping them figure out different businesses, opportunities for them to create outside the world.
Absolutely. Very cool.
And so when you're ready for that, we can help you do that. A place for free training, and all you do is you pay, if you want to pay for the certificates afterwards. It's a website out of the UK called Allison.com.
Mm-hmm.
It's all credible training for, millions of different things, from early education and special needs to different job things. Check that out. They might have some new stuff for what you're looking for training.
Yeah, that'd be great. Awesome. My goal has always been to take the things, because I've done a variety of things for so long. I started off at a very young age. I was a writer, and then I really got into design, and then I became really geeky and really got into all these apps and softwares and the tech stuff and building websites and behind the scenes. And, I'm kind of coming at it from those angles of having something to offer for somebody who has no idea what they're really good at, has never used probably even Canva or any of these things. And, but they want to stay at home. A lot of the people that I find are going to be my ideal customer for this is really going to be, people who want to get out of maybe a tricky situation that they're in, for example, or maybe they're single moms. They just want to be able to stay at home or work a bit more on the side. Or, simply people who just, life is expensive these days. And looking at so many people, one job is not cutting it. And, who knows how that's going to go in the future. But a lot of people right now, I see it daily online. People are just looking for something work from home, whether it's to, make up for what they're not bringing in elsewhere or whatever the case may be. Everyone's situation is different. But, being able to provide training on the skill set that I've had for so long in each of these areas, I feel like is definitely going to give this course a bit of a boost, because most of the things that I've seen are very kind of like a one path training. It's all focused on kind of one niche or one industry. And so I really want to try to appeal to as many people as I can. And hopefully that's, I've got a lot of interest in it already, and the doors are going to open for it next month. And it's definitely exciting. It's taken a while to get here. I've had this plan for a while, but life gets busy. Like I said, we moved across the country, and that was a tricky thing. And it was, I wanted to do it right and not have a ton of things on my plate. And so it was great, but everything happens at the right time, right?
You follow the mission, the money follows. That is a thing that I believe in, both my personal life and my business life, but also with this radio show. When you follow that mission that you started with, keep on that goal, everything else falls into place. It's when it's supposed to happen, not when you want it to happen. Which sometimes is hard as a business owner. You want to expand and grow and do and not struggle, but it happens. Right now, my biggest struggle and motivation I'm losing is getting asked to speak at different seminars and webinars and summits and filling out the stupid applications.
Right. And there's only one of you. And that's hard.
That's part of the reason why I'm looking to hire someone just to do all the PR work that I just don't like doing.
Yeah. Yeah. See, and it's funny because I've had clients who are like, oh, could you help with this? Like, I'm so sorry to ask. And I'm like, I love these mundane tasks that everybody detests. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what, I was the same way when I worked 9-to-5 jobs. Because I come from a background of, I worked in the banking industry here in Canada, and I worked in the hospitality industry. I even worked for Canada Post. At one point I had 3 jobs, and it was just, a lot of administrative and customer service, and the mundane tasks were my favorite thing to do. And so everybody always gave them to me. And so now when I have clients who are like, I'm so sorry, can you fill this out? I'm just like, of course I'll fill it out. Like, funny enough, that's just the nerd part of me really enjoys that stuff.
See, and like my biggest struggle is filling them out with different themes for each like webinar, summit, or thing.
I know.
I don't do the box.
Yeah.
I'm not the one-hit wonder, especially when it comes to like autism. It's not. I spend so much time talking about all the conspiracy theories and trying to help debunk them. And so, it's not about eating the healthy foods and eliminating this or doing this. And so it's so hard to make it short and sweet, which is where AI comes into play, but it just gets so frustrating.
It can definitely help to shorten it. And I find if I'm really passionate about a subject, I can absolutely ramble. So that's why I use AI for myself too, is really to just, okay, can you condense this for me? Because it's a 2-pager and it was meant to be a paragraph and I just couldn't stop myself.
Yeah. That's the same issue I got.
Yeah. No, I totally hear you. And I can do it for clients. Like I can look at their content and pull what I feel like are the really main points that jump out. But I can't do it for myself because all that information is in my head. And so getting it out, I'm not able to look at it the same way. And I guess that's from what I have seen, it's like that for so many people. Once you're passionate about it and you start writing about it, you kind of overdump. You put too much into it when it can be, limited and kind of pop out a bit better.
Yeah, it's like Chuck asked me to write a paragraph, and I'm like, here, I'll write you the bio. You figure it out.
You're going to have to condense it yourself.
I don't know what you want. You give me such an open slate.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough, especially to talk about yourself.
Yeah. I always joke because I had the nickname Speedy and Diesel growing up. Growing up in Minnesota, diesel trucks, they run till, you don't shut them off to the wintertime. So, if I'm awake, my mouth runs, which is, great thing I got a radio show, right?
Yeah, that's right. You found the right thing.
And it actually fell in my lap, literally. So a couple of years ago, I went on a rant about the coaching industry, about how it was all about the money.
Oh, yeah.
And how you had to sell the big ticket items and forget about the little people. And it's like and it was all focused, and it still is. I get so many marketing messages from people, we can make this, you can make this much money. And I go, no, I can't. It's not possible because my clientele don't make that much money in a year.
And that's kind of been my focus too, because, I've had a big ticket retainer client, but when you put too many eggs in one basket, for me, I don't feel as secure about it. I mean, like I said, I'm a single mom. So if I had, say, 2 clients and one of them decided they were going to close up shop with their business, well, that's not good news for me, is it? So, I've had that kind of scare before, having a big retainer client, and then, they went through laying off a lot of their employees. And of course, then it meant that I had less to do. So they wanted to drop me back to an hourly rate. And while that was completely understandable, and I actually still work with them, they're amazing. That was a good business move for them. That's what they needed to do. For me, though, it was like, oh, that's not exactly, I wasn't preparing for that. So for me, I prefer to hire clients who, they only need so much a month. Like they want help with one thing, or it's probably a scatter of things, but it's not heavy duty, like I do a lot of website builds and project stuff like that too. But for my ongoing clients, sometimes for them, I'm working on a course with them and we'll kind of pace things out so that they're staying within a budget every month. But that means I can have 20 to 30 of those clients. And if one of them ends up going, you know what, I feel like my business, I need to take a break from it, then that decision for them doesn't affect me too bad because I've only lost probably a couple of $100. For me, that's the way that I find my business runs securely, right? And the hard thing is a lot of people assume if they're hiring a virtual assistant, oh my gosh, it's going to be so much money. It's not actually, because depending on what we can work on and we can pace things out, if we're working together for the next year to get all that stuff done that you want to get done over that time, we break it down and we make it super affordable during the month and tackle one thing at a time. It doesn't have to be, in the next 3 weeks I'm going to get everything done that's, you've ever wanted to do, and it's going to cost you 10 grand. That's not how I run my business. And so I think that's the one thing that I'm surprised a lot of people expect, is that bringing a virtual assistant on board is going to be so much money. It doesn't have to be, right? You can really pace it. And as you said, like, not everyone's making, especially if they're a solo professional, their business is not bringing in enough to be hiring, say, coaches or virtual assistants that are, $5,000 packages a month. I mean, it doesn't have to be like that. There are people out there that charge that, of course, but doesn't mean that you can't get the perfect service for you and the perfect person coming on as almost like a team member somewhere else at, something that's going to work with you and be super affordable.
I think that's the biggest misconception, because we live in a society of you get what you paid for. So if you don't pay a lot of money, you don't get quality.
Right.
And it's the one thing, like, one of the big things that I do use is I listen to you talk. And when you have that passion behind what you're saying, you have that genuine about it, just because you're low cost doesn't mean you're bad at what you do or you're new. It's just you're not doing it for the money. You're doing it for the money's the bonus. You're doing it for the mission. You're there. You're doing it to help these businesses. You really care about what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing that we really need to change the mindset of, small business owners, is understanding it's not about the money. It's about being able to understand that and how people operate.
And I have clients in the U.S., and I've had some of them come to me, we have a talk and, we have a plan to move forward and everything. And then we're talking about, invoicing and money. And I'll tell them, that's going to be $40 an hour. And they'll usually say, like, oh, I thought you said your rate was 50. And I said, well, it is, but I'm in Canada. So if I'm charging you 40 US an hour, it's still, for me, my rate. I'm still getting my $50 an hour. I don't need to overcharge you to get what, I've created for my business. This is my rate, and this is what I need for my lifestyle, etc. I don't need to be, especially right now, like, I know times are tough for everyone. A lot of the people I work with, they have small businesses and they want to see it grow. They don't want to be having so many expenses that they end up deciding their business is not worth it. And so I do that. And a lot of people are always kind of like, why? And I'm just like, I don't need to be like that. And it's fine if people do run their business that way. I mean, I don't see a problem in it for other people. It's just, it doesn't sit right with me. And so that's what I do. If you're in the U.S., my hourly rate was 40, and if you're in Canada, it's 50. And that's just kind of how it made sense to me to do that. But, it's funny that so many people are not used to that, I think. I know that everything in every part of life is, prices have increased. Everything's so expensive. And so I feel like people are almost expecting to get kind of like money gouged all the time. But my goal has always been, that's why I do what I do. I love helping people. And, the amount of times I've helped people even for nothing, I do like to put out content that helps people figure out even how to do it themselves. Instead of you hiring someone for 30 minutes, I mean, if that's all it's going to take you to do it, here's the steps to do it, that sort of thing. And that's not really why I want people to hire me, is for like a 30-minute period or an hour even, to do something. If that's something that they can do and they want to do it, that's great. I'm looking for people who want to have someone in their corner, because that's kind of part of what I bring to the table, is someone who's there to root for them and to keep them on track and talk about their goals. Okay, now let's break down how we're going to get there. And funny enough, I never thought I'd be in a coaching space, but it looks like that's a huge part of what I do sometimes with a lot of my clients, is helping them get there, helping them figure out what needs to be moved out of that path, and what needs to be tackled now, what needs to be tackled at, said later time. all those things, and it's worked out really well.
And that's, because that's how things work for you. I mean, you're following the mission.
Yes.
What advice would you give up-and-coming virtual assistants?
I would say keep your eye on the ball. There was a thing that I learned a long time ago. I went through this period of time where I did a lot of personal development, which I feel is very necessary if you're going to have your own business. I would not be successful today without everything that I learned then. And I was doing a different business altogether then. It's so important to kind of know why you need your business. You need to know your why of why you're even starting it, where you see it going. It's very important to have goals within your business too. You're not going to accomplish everything in the first month. You need to definitely know where you're starting and where you want to get to. And so for me, I was in a very toxic relationship, a stay-at-home mom who had no income, and I needed to get us out. And so for me, that was the drive, that was the why of being like, I need financial independence so that this kind of stuff doesn't happen. And that's what I did. And literally within months, I had this business and I was pulling in like $6,000 a month. And I was just like, oh my God, okay, like this is what I needed. Now, how do I make all those personal decisions that need to get done, right? But it was the key piece that I needed to get there. And so for me, when I say keep your eye on the ball, for me, that was the goal, was getting out. But a huge part of me knew that the only way I was going to do that was by taking on something that I really believed in and that I actually really enjoyed doing. And like I said, I've done a lot of this stuff for so long. I've been building websites for 20 years and enjoyed it, and a bunch of design stuff and all these things. They were things I was doing for people for free, but I knew people out there were paying for it, right? So it's just a matter of knowing that what you're getting up to do every day is something you look forward to. Yeah, not everything. I mean, we all take on stuff that simply, the bills have to get paid or what have you. And that's fine as long as you look at it in that way and just take it head on and just keep your eye on the ball, because your goals are going to be everything.
One thing I'd like to add to that is remember why you started your business, why you're doing what you want to do, so you keep that passion going.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. For me, that's really easy because, we got to move across the country, and, I've had some traumatic stuff in the last couple of years. And for me, I don't know, being here sometimes, we've been here a year now. It's been over a year since we've moved back east. And I sometimes forget that I'm here. Every now and then something will pop up and I'm like, oh, look, that person's from Newfoundland. I'm like, wait, that's where I am right now. And so it hasn't fully kind of sunk in that I've been able to achieve these things in the last couple of years. But it is always a great reminder. Every time I look at my window or we go to the ocean or whatever it is, I'm reminded this is why I started my business, was that safety, that financial independence to get to here, to simply be here and to be living, a healthy, safe life, both me and my son. That was the goal. And so it's nice. And, like I said, there are some tasks you don't maybe love completely, or sometimes you can even have a difficult client. But it is important to definitely make sure you advocate for yourself and make sure you just remember why you started it. Because if it's a short-term thing and you can just get through it and get it done, then, like I said, sometimes the bills have to get paid. So.
Mhm. No, and I completely agree. One thing I'd love to ask you, and I don't think I asked you this yet, was what got you started in the virtual assistant world?
I actually saw something, I believe it was on Facebook, about a virtual assistant challenge or something. And I was like, what is that? And I remember I took the screenshot of it forgot all about it, like I do with so many screenshots. I've got way more than I'd like to admit that I have of things that I want to circle back to. And then about 5 months later, it came up again. And at that point was when I kind of knew, okay, like something's got to shift. I need something, like, what am I going to do? Because the business I had been running, which was kind of more in network marketing, it wasn't for me. You know, I needed something that I could control, that was done by me. I wasn't relying on another company. I didn't want to be a consultant, any of that. So I started looking at the things that they were talking about, and I realized I do all of those things. You know, I did them for my previous business, or I did them for friends. I did them for family. I was like, oh, okay. You know, like I was the person that previous employers were still calling up years later. I can't figure out this Excel thing. Can you help me? And I was just realizing that's right. Like there are companies out there who hire people, like contracting, to help with things here and there like this. And that's kind of the idea that got it all started. But it ended up being so much more than that, right? We're starting to see a huge shift away from hiring a team and employees, because that's a huge expense. You know, you've got benefits usually. There's so much involved with having actual employees with your business. So we're seeing a huge shift that so many people are preferring to just outsource and get contractors to do so much. And so that was kind of around the same time that we were kind of seeing that start. And so I signed up for 2 separate challenges. One was all about social media managing, I think it was, and one was simply being a virtual assistant. Now, she was in the U.S., so much of like behind the scenes was not applicable to me, because she was talking about, you know, your business number and registering your business, and it's very, very different up here. It's actually a lot easier up here. But really, I really liked her. Like I was gravitating towards her, just her energy, her personality, and just that support that she offered was really what got me to really look at it and go, if she can do it, why can't I? And that's so important. You know, I have people that look at me that way, and I'm like, no, I'm not kidding. If I can do it, you can do it. It's not like, you know, you have to climb a mountain. It's really not that hard. It just takes dedication, right? It just takes persistence. And so I sat down and I looked at all the things I'd been doing. I had been, you know, people had been paying me to do websites, but I hadn't even thought of making a business out of that. And so it was just a matter of kind of reevaluating all the things I'd worked on. You know, I had been managing Facebook accounts. I had been running groups, and just so many things were what people now were charging business owners to do. And so I ended up signing up for this course, and mostly for the support. She didn't have any like skills training involved in it, which I was hoping was going to be a part of it. But in the end, the skills I already had were more than sufficient. And that was what I couldn't piece together myself before that, because I think we often do that to ourselves. We doubt ourselves, and we feel like we're not good enough for things. But by the end of that course, it was very clear to me, okay, yeah, absolutely. Like I can do this for people. And so that was, I created my own website, and then I cleaned up all my social media accounts. I put it all on LinkedIn, and my first 2 clients found me on LinkedIn within a few weeks. And it all went uphill from there because it was, yeah, I mean, when I talk to people, they're like, oh, like it was very easy for you. I'm like, it wasn't though. I put in the time, right? I sat down and kind of made the list of like what needed to happen, what made the most sense to me. And I did all those steps, and it worked. And so that's part of what I'm going to be doing in my course too, is really write down completely transparent. This is how I did everything. This is how you can make similar things work for you, because everyone is different. Everyone's going to be focusing maybe on different things too. But really I took the things that I had known how to do, and I was willing to learn new things too. And I just started marketing myself. And that was basically how it started.
So literally you fell into it.
Yeah, I had been doing it for 20 years, and then all of a sudden it was like, click, and just, this is what you're doing now. I was like, I wish I had actually realized this years ago, because it was a thing back then. Certainly not marketed or talked about enough, but people were doing it.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that you have more screenshots than selfies.
Oh gosh, there's like 10,000 screenshots on my phone. Because I see it so much inspiring stuff, or there's things I'm like, oh, what's that? I want to learn what that is, and I want to figure out how to do it. And so many things. And then people to connect with, and just, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's great, though.
I always hit the button, save, post. My save post thing is like huge. As we run out of time today, what are some leaving words you would love to give to businesses, especially, single, small mom and pop businesses, single parents trying to start a business, or even special needs parents, are trying to do it all and be the superhero?
I would say that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say that, really we should be hiring people like you, but.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I would say to almost every business that I've talked to, and anyone listening, would be running a business can be so utterly lonely, but it doesn't have to be. Because when you have the right people with you supporting you, whether that's, if you've got a couple of employees or you've got a couple of contractors, it doesn't even have to be people that you bring on board and you pay for their services, but they're definitely a crucial part of it, I find. It's great to have like your cheerleading audience, like your family and your friends who they emotionally and, they mentally support you. But having people that really understand parts of your business and help ease the stress of those really busy days, I think it's worth having the calls with. And it's not just myself. There are so many virtual assistants who offer free like discovery calls and things like that, where you can really just talk it out and figure out if there's ways that another person can help you in business, or it's just to kind of figure out even just what's not working. Like for me, I offer that first 30 minutes for free. And that's actually a lot of time to figure out, what you need. And then from there, I do offer like a paid strategy call, which really just breaks it down and puts a plan together. And that's great for people too. I've had people that are that's what they're looking for. And then if they have the time, they take that and they go off and they implement that themselves. But a lot of people really, they like that support. They like feeling like they're not alone in their business. And like I said, like I love to advocate for people's business. I like to be a part of it. So if that's kind of what people are looking for, then from there we figure out how to work together. But it can be lonely, but it doesn't have to be.
I love that. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
And, I'd love to have you back when we launch our new series. Promote, your classes coming up and things like that. And it's all about neurodiversity for neurodiversity, but our Friday shows will be all about for veterans, by veterans, especially people who are transitioning into the civilian world or struggling with adapting in the civilian world and helping them figure out that next step.
Beautiful. I love it.
So have a good day. Have a good night, guys. See y'all back here at noon Eastern time when Captain Len Kane talks about the Golden Rule Society and about the Kindness Campaign and Club for Kids and what he's up to now. Mr. Top Gun will be here live at noon. Until then, bye for now.